Why do you think most of the demographic you work with is 60-year-old women, around 60-year-old?
Well, we're still trying to figure that out. I really don't know. I have assumptions.
Mm-hmm.
And my assumption is that women put so much work into their families, into their household, into their husbands, and they start to get symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
And they go to the medical monopoly and they realize that they're just going around in circles. And menopause is brutal for a lot of women. And it opens their eyes. I think menopause opens women's eyes to how clueless the medical monopoly is.
Mm-hmm.
And then they find me on social. They find someone calm and confident. And they binge watch. And they meet with you and they meet with us. And they eventually decide to do our program because they're realizing that it's their time now.
Yeah.
It's my time. I already put in all this work.
They put in so much.
So much. And they're also, I think, realizing how much their husbands are going down the tubes.
Yeah.
Because men are typically more stubborn and men are typically more skeptical and their health starts going like this. And the wife is like, you need to do this, you need to do that, do this and do that. I learned this from social. I learned this from Dr. Reese.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, whatever. He waves it off, whatever. And his health goes down and down and down. And she's like, I'm not doing this. And so she comes with us and her health goes up.
A lot of them want to be the example for their family and their husband, their friends.
Yeah.
And I think that's a beautiful thing in itself. I know that it worked for me. You know, I was at a bad spot and then family sees you getting better out of nowhere. I'm sure it worked for you as well. Like,
Yeah.
people see you change out of nowhere and they're like, what did you do?
Yeah. Right. And so if an unhealthy woman in her late 50s, early 60s turns her health around, it can be quite inspiring for her family.
Yeah.
But the husband typically is still going to be like,
I want my junk food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, it's interesting. Men are just kind of programmed to work, be productive. It's kind of a macho thing to be productive. But a lot of them they just don't care about their health and they go down the hole real fast.
It's a sign of weakness for some.
Yeah. And women, you know, women at the end of the day are tougher. They're more resilient. Think about everything they go through.
Yeah.
Physically, women have to go through a lot. Menopause on its own is a big deal. And the monthly cycle, the hormones, you know, it's a lot. And so I think women just become mentally tougher in a lot of cases. You might see them break down and cry, but that's just their release. As soon as the cry's over, they're back up to being a warrior.
Yeah.
Whereas a man is holding everything in and he's just like crumbling. You know, if you look at the rates of people taking themselves off this earth, not allowed to use the S word anymore. Isn't that interesting? The rate is higher for men than it is women. There's more men taking their lives than there are women. And so this is a new phenomenon, and I think women are just more resilient. They take a licking and keep on ticking. They just keep going. They're like little Terminators, man. They just keep going and going and going, no matter how many cries, no matter how many times they feel like they're going to break down, they just dust themselves off and they keep going. And they don't even realize how strong they are. Giving birth is a big deal.
Mm.
I would not want to give birth.
Yeah, honestly, it scares me.
Yeah, it's such a big deal.
Yeah.
And you got these women that are like wanting 3, 4 babies, going through it 3, 4 times. Wow.
Then having to raise that kid.
They're like a Navy SEAL.
Yeah.
They're like Navy SEALs. They're so strong, and they may not know it. And so I think that's probably why we're getting so many 60-year-old women. Why aren't we getting 40-year-old women? They're not ready yet.
Mm.
They got the symptoms, but they're not ready yet. They're still going through the medical monopoly, right? They got their husband of 10 years or whatever, and they're just not ready. Life hasn't kicked them in the teeth enough.
To me, that sucks. It sucks that people have to get to a point to where they've like through an immense amount of suffering just to get to the point to where it's like, oh, this is not the route I'm supposed to be going down.
Right.
Like I'm going down a road that has a literal dead end.
Literally, yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, it's not even that it's on one hand, it's like humans, it's like a natural thing. We have to wait until something traumatizing happens to us to want to change or
Right.
to know that it's time to change. And then on the other hand, people are just so trusting. They trust in the medical monopoly so much. I mean, they see it on TV. I mean, you got TV, and you go to European countries or countries in the East, and they're like, you have drug commercials.
Right.
We don't have those. Why does Advil have a commercial right now?
Right. Right.
And they're so trusting, but it's not even their fault. They just were raised on it. And then they figure out like all of that trusting just to get to a point to where they weren't helping you from the beginning,
From the
from the
beginning.
go.
From the door. Yep. There's no point in going to the medical monopoly. We'll save that for another conversation, but you can just tell that our clients, which again are mostly 60-year-old women, they've been through it because they're asking us questions. Well, if I do this, should I do that? And like they're checking.
Mhm.
They're their own advocate for themselves. And anyone that does that, they've been through it.
Yeah.
They've been through the medical monopoly. They've been through it or are going through it with their husband. And possibly they've been through it with their kids. Right? And so they're stepping up. They're stepping up to the plate and they're being advocates for themselves.
That's the tough part. Like I've been thinking about if I ever have kids, like how am I going to teach them with all the influences that we have, even on TV, school, peers, with all of the influence, how am I going to teach them that, healthy food from non-healthy food, and that when they start eating these non-healthy foods, they get addicted and their mom has to deal with all of that.
That's why we're creating Sunlight Sunny.
Exactly.
That's the tool that she can use.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Mom has just a tremendous burden. No, it's not a burden. It's his job. It's duty.
Yeah.
The mom has a tremendous duty on her shoulders at all times. And that's why I don't understand why so many women want to go be executives and go run a company and be a super entrepreneur. I'm like, don't you get it? Like raising the kids and handling the household is a big deal. Don't minimize that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge deal.
Yeah.
And so I always say, and I've told the sheriff this many times, our behind the scenes guru.
We love you, Sheriff.
My work wife. Having multiple kids under the age of 10 is like being a Navy SEAL. It's like special forces. That's a lot. It's a lot. I'll never forget. This is just this summer that just passed. I always go on a morning walk, and I'm on my walk and I'm passing the first day of school, elementary school. And there's this woman, and she's got one baby in her arms,
Mm.
and she's walking 2 boys to the school, and they're trying to get there on time. First day of school.
Mm.
And she looks down and sees that her little boy put on the wrong shoes.
Oh no.
He's like wearing his brother's shoes that are way too big. And I'm sure his brother is maybe in high school or something. He just made a mistake. She didn't catch it before they left the house. And the look on her face was just like, oh my gosh, no, I can't let you in like that.
Yeah.
She marched them back to the car to go back to the house. And the other kid's just like, well, I don't want to go in late. And she's like, well, you have to, and she's flustered. She's flustered, but she handled it.
Mm.
If it was a dude, you just go.
Golly.
Just go. Just take your shoes off. Who cares? I got stuff to do.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So that woman had so much patience and so much resiliency to handle that situation. That's what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. To the moms.
Jumpstart your head-to-toe healing journey with the Dr. Reese book trilogy. Peace Over Pain is the cult classic that explains how head-to-toe healing works and how the medical monopoly doesn't. Reverse the Cause lays out the root causes to over 60 chronic conditions. And Dinner with Dr. Reese is a unique cookbook that contains 100 recipes without the destructive pour for foods. Together, all 3 books set you on a path to head-to-toe healing. Get yours today on Amazon, Audible, or peaceoverpain.com. Also, if you'd like to ask a question, tune in every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern for Dr. Reese Live.